CNN legal analyst and former federal prosecutor Sunny Hostin, and Donnie Glover. He's the author of Unapologetically Black. He's lived in Baltimore for nearly 50 years. He's also the publisher of BeMoreNews.com. Welcome to both of you. Thanks so much for being here. Donnie, I want to talk about the hopelessness some in the city feel living in these poverty-stricken neighborhoods. Explain why that hopelessness might erupt into violent behavior.
I think the politicians have neglected Baltimore's east and west side for decades. I'm 50. I remember when North and Patterson Park, I remember the riots of '68. That area has not been touched in my lifetime, the same on the west side. And so we only see politicians quite often in these areas, as you see right now at Penn North, when something, typically around an election. So now that this riot is going on, or the riots, now you see people who should have been there all along.
You know, I was at North in Pennsylvania last night, and a young lady came up to me, and she gave me a tongue lashing for a good half hour, very passionate, because I had called the people who looted the CVS idiots. Now, I still think the people who looted that store are criminals. I want to make that clear, and I don't think violence is the answer. But she was trying to explain to me why I shouldn't have used that word. She said, you know, I live in a neighborhood where I have no voice. I have no money. I have no power. Nobody cares about me. How else am I going to, like, get your attention but through this?
Well, that's interesting that you say that, because, I mean, Martin Luther King said that after the '68 riots, right? He said rioting is the language of the unheard, and I think it's very easy to sort of name call and very easy to call people thugs and idiots. That's sort of the low-hanging fruit, because we can all agree that rioting and looting in your own neighborhood doesn't make a lot of sense. But the bottom line is, I think we have to look at the more nuanced issue, which is, why do people feel the need to do that in their neighborhoods to get attention? And I think that is because people have been unheard. When you look at the poverty rate in Baltimore, when you look at the unemployment rate in Baltimore, especially for people the ages of young black men, the ages of 18 to 25, it is a catastrophic statistic. And that is why I think, not to excuse the behavior, but that is why we see this hopelessness and this desperation. And I think we also see it because policing in these neighborhoods historically it's very aggressive. And so when you have that distrust between a community that is poor, that is unemployed, and that is being overly policed, what else do you expect to see?
Right. And I think that many people in the nation lose focus of what it's like to live in such a community. I was standing there talking to this very well-spoken young lady in my cute leather jacket, and I was going to leave that neighborhood and go back to my nice little home in New York City. And, you know, I felt that. And I don't know what her experience is like. There's no way for me to know.
You close recreation centers in these neighborhoods. You close down the schools. There were 4 recreation centers closed on the other side of town, East Baltimore. Recreation centers. They closed swimming pools in the middle of a heat wave. I don't have a problem with you calling them idiots, but let's also call the politicians who have ignored these communities, the communities they show up once every 4 years, let's call them idiots also.
And I think the other problem here in Baltimore is, you know, you say recreation centers have been closed, swimming pools have been closed. At the same time, huge tax breaks have been given to businesses to move into the city of Baltimore. And the areas that are being developed here are places like Harbor East, where the wealthy people live, and that creates...
People think the riots have changed West Baltimore. The face of West Baltimore, that is the face of it, but before the riots. So when the cameras come in, you're seeing the depression. And have you ever walked by a block of vacant houses, the smell, the stench, and then you put coke, dope, crack, all throughout these neighborhoods, and aggressive policing, it broke the boy's neck.
And I think, you know, to your point about this inequity, I lived in Baltimore for 10 years. I started my legal practice here, and I'm from the South Bronx, so I know what it's like to live as a child in a very poor neighborhood. And I will say one thing that I did feel when I was here in Baltimore is this inequality, this racial inequality. I felt the economic inequality. You know, just driving through the neighborhoods, it felt very much like an apartheid state in the sense that you could go to the Inner Harbor and have a beautiful lunch at this really upscale restaurant and then drive through neighborhoods where people were starving. And today in the United States, is that something, is that a place where we should be? So that I think is one of the root causes of what we saw, and that's something that needs to be addressed.
And don't forget the politics. This is a 9-to-1 Democratic town. They put signs in the last gubernatorial election that said, in the black neighborhood, upwardly mobile, Liberty Heights, vote for the Democrats. Are you serious? That is the best you're going to tell grown people? The last thing on North Avenue of significance is Coppin State. The Republicans, Ehrlich, spear thrower for Gingrich, according to the old people, put $100 million at Coppin State. Why did the Democrats, particularly black Democrats, ignore Coppin State and HBCU?
Interesting. Okay, I got to leave it there. Thanks to both of you. I really appreciate it because I think this is an important conversation that we must have. I mean, the answer is just not to go, clearly the answer is not to just go arrest everybody, right? Sure. Clearly the answer is not that. So I think it's important that we discuss the underlying issues and talk about them honestly and look at ourselves. And I don't know, at least that's what I'm trying to do. Thanks to both of you. I appreciate it.